The Russian armed forces has encircled the 31st Battalion of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Battle of Pokrovsk. So now, Pokrovsk is a lost battle for the Ukrainian armed forces. This was confirmed by the overall commander of this special military operation of the Russians. He confirmed this during his meeting with Vladimir Putin, General Gerasimov. Now, we continue to see the Russians using this particular system. It is part of their military. The point is, anybody who fights with the Russians is fully aware that your troops will definitely end up being encircled. Everybody knows this, but you can't just help it. These guys continue to use the strategy over and over again. In the Battle of Bakhmut, this is the same system they used to defeat the Ukrainian armed forces. Now, in this case, Ukraine have only two options. It's either they surrender or the Russians annihilate them. Now, when you look at the Battle of Kursk, Ukrainians were supposed to surrender in the Battle of Kursk, but they wanted to keep the narrative that they are winning. And I hope you guys remember back then, across all the Western media, these guys were celebrating Ukraine is now entering deep into Russian territory. You know, they wanted to keep this narrative alive. And I've seen that this has affected the Ukrainian armed forces in many ways. They continue to use Hitler's strategy, which is stand still fight, which continue to destroy the Ukrainian armed forces. When you look at even the Battle of Mariupol, they were supposed to surrender, but they refused, and we all saw the consequences of what happened in Azovstal in Mariupol. Let's look at history. Why I continue to refer you guys to history in almost all my videos is because history helps us to understand current events better. When you look in Second World War, in the Battle of Stalingrad, it was a complete lost battle for the Nazis, but Hitler was so obsessed with the defeat of the Soviet Union, and he refused to listen to his generals. He instructed his men in the Battle of Stalingrad not to retreat, they should stand and fight to the last Nazi. And they paid a heavy price for this. General Zhukov decided to take advantage of the whole situation and surround, the Nazi troops in Stalingrad. For the sake of those of you who don't know who General Zhukov is, General Zhukov is the most respected general in Second World War. In fact, there's no general that comes close to General Zhukov when it comes to Second World War. Although there were a lot of great generals like America, General McCarthy, a lot of them. But when it comes to tactical genius, no one comes close to General Zhukov. So after Zhukov got the confirmation that Japan was not going to invade Russia from Siberia, the Russians were expecting an invasion of Japan from Siberia. So some of their troops were there. So after Zhukov got a confirmation, he decided to bring them to the Battle of Stalingrad. The Battle of Stalingrad was the bloodiest battle in Second World War. So after the encirclement, Hitler ordered the army not to retreat. So they started dropping equipment and food through aircraft into Stalingrad. Yet it didn't work. Zhukov crashed the Nazis completely in Stalingrad. So stand-still fight is a disaster for any army. You do not engage in stand-still fight. If you engage in stand-still fight, they are going to destroy you. And this has been the problem of the Ukrainian armed forces since day one. I've reported it several times. The Russian military doctrine is completely different. They don't believe in stand-still fight. They believe that they are fighting against an enemy. So the point is to crash the enemy's army. After crashing the army, everywhere belongs to them. That has always been their military doctrine. So they don't fear to retreat. When you look back in 2023, I quite remember in Kherson, the Russians decided to withdraw their troops. Boom. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, all the Western media claimed that Ukraine has taken control of Kherson, which was completely false. They decided to withdraw their army to a better position and fight against them. I hope the sound of the bells are not distracting you guys. They continue to make noise whenever they see me here. But that's part of nature, and I love nature. I prefer recording videos outside because of my eyes. Don't forget to hit on the like button. It's very, very important. It helps the video go far. And to our new subscribers, please hit on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. I think it will be wise for the Ukrainians to negotiate with Putin now. Because one thing I've realized is, as time goes on, the Russians continue to capture more and more territories. The more they delay, the more Russia capture more territories. Putin said he's ready to give some territories back to Ukraine. But Zelensky is saying that no. Now let's go back to 2014. The Russians only took Crimea. They took only Crimea. That was all. In 2022, in attempt to take Crimea, started this particular war. They don't tell you this in the mainstream media. Ukraine tried taking back Crimea, and in these attempts, they lost 4 oblasts. What we call regions here, those in Nigeria, they call it states. They lost 4 more states in the process of taking back only Crimea. And in 2022, Putin was willing to take only Crimea and leave the rest for Ukraine. But they still pressed on that they need Crimea back, and here we are. The worst decision any leader in this world can do is to pick a fight with Russia. That is the worst decision any leader can do in this world. So those who keep saying, I thought Russia was going to take Ukraine in 2 weeks. I thought Russia was going to take Ukraine in 1 month. Based on what were you making that statements? One thing I've realized is those who make all these statements, they have no basis, or they have no solid evidence to back these claims up. Because Russia, throughout their history, they don't rush in war. They take their time. When they defeat you to the point that you cannot come back again. Look at Napoleon. Napoleon was conquering the whole of Europe till he decided to pick a fight with Russia. After that battle, Napoleon never became the same again. And that was how come the Allied forces was able to defeat Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo. The main reason why the West were able to defeat Napoleon was because Napoleon had already lost a lot of men, equipment, money, a lot of things in Russia already. So Napoleon was already weakened in Russia before the Allied forces were able to defeat Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo. So Napoleon conquered the whole of Europe before he decided to fight with Russia. And the funny thing is, the West supported him to fight with Russia. After the Russians defeated them, they turned up against, Napoleon again. Even the Nazis are undoubtedly the strongest army of the 20th century. The kind of equipment these guys had, there's no country on earth that could compare their army to the Nazis. There was no army. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. If I am asked to pick the strongest army in 20th century, I would choose Germany. Germany was very, very, very strong. They conquered Europe till Hitler made a mistake to invade the Soviet Union. That was his biggest mistake. And after that defeat, Germany has never been the same. The army of Germany has never been the same. So one thing that I've realized is when Russia defeats you, they defeat you to the point that you cannot come back again. And note, the main objective of Vladimir Putin in this special military operation is to demilitarize Ukraine. So demilitarization, just like how the Russians were able to demilitarize the Nazis. That is the same thing that Vladimir Putin is trying to achieve here. Denotification and demilitarization. Note, the only army that has been able to achieve that in this world is only the Russians. They are the only people that were able to demilitarize Germany, and they were also able to denotify Germany. So it is only Russia who has been able to achieve this in this world. And that is exactly what is happening in Ukraine. They are trying to demilitarize and denotify Ukraine. That is exactly what I see happening. This war will end one day. But the point is, how is Ukraine going to rebuild back their country? Think about that critically. Oh, another important update. This is a follow-up because I've spoken a lot about this, Russian new weapons. So Putin gave a hint during his meeting with General Gerasimov. So according to Vladimir Putin, this new weapon is going to be a cruise missile. So according to him, Russia has already tested this missile and very soon it will be out. According to him, currently there is no missile like this particular missile they are about to release. Nobody have it in this world. This is completely unique. This is completely new. So let's be patient and let's wait for this particular new weapon that the Russians are about to unleash. I've reported it before that this weapon is kind of like an intercontinental ballistic missile, but a big difference. So now what we know for fact or for sure is this particular missile is a cruise missile. Interesting time ahead. Let me use this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for wishing me speedy recovery. If you realize in the beginning of this particular video, my voice was very down. I'm not feeling well. I'm getting better. So thank you very much for your endless support. If you watch this video to the very end, Timo 360 in the comment section. Let us separate you guys from those who didn't watch the video to the last end. So when you type Timo 360 in the comment section, right away I will know that you watched this video till the very end. Shalom. See you guys in the next episode.